Eagles after the benching of Carson Wentz. All eyes on the young quarterback in a tough task against a good defense. But Dan, look at him early to Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, this is outstanding. He gets all-out pressure, someone right in his face, gives Alshon Jeffrey a little bit of touch on that ball, back shoulder fade, touchdown Philly, and then they get pressure off the right side. They shut down that slant. It's a huge gaping hole for Miles Sanders. He's one of those home run hitters at tailback. Then all of a sudden, Philly goes into half 17-0.
17-0. Sanders would rush for 115. Late third now. Saints are down 17-7. Taysom Hill had some good and some bad moments. Dan, this one was very good.
It's a beautiful fake toss play action. You get the middle field safety to drive up on a crosser, and then you got Emmanuel Sanders kind of replacing that middle field safety. Good throw by Taysom Hill, a much better catch by Sanders.
Fourth quarter, the Saints are going for it on a 4th and 2. What do we think of this play, Dan?
I don't mind this play call. I think he's got Michael Thomas actually on that backside crossing route. He just can't pull up. When you do that sprint out, all the ball's got to get out of your hands. And if you're going to pull up, you have to take off.
Eagles would go up by 10. Here's the one mistake Jalen Hurts would make as he has it punched out by Quan Alexander.
Something he did not do all game was give the football away until this moment. Alexander does an awesome job of punching that ball away. And all of a sudden you're like, man, this game should be over. But the Saints have some life.
Yeah, they did, and they would take advantage of it. Here's another good moment from Hill on a great play by the tight end, Jared Cook.
Yeah, he just gives Jared Cook a chance, right? Just give him a ball that he can kind of outreach that linebacker for. Huge touchdown.
And it comes down to this. Rex, they got an onside kick opportunity. Fake it one way, go the other way, and then we'll show you another look at this. Rex Ryan, how did the Saints not get this?
I'm still trying to figure that out. It's crazy. Like, this guy comes in, just put your hip down, close it off. You're kidding me. What are you thinking here? And then they get out-wrestled for it. You know, I'm not surprised that a Philly guy would out-wrestle a New Orleans Saint. But come on, man. Philly has to win that fight. They did, but that shouldn't have happened.
And so the way it ends is exactly like that. And so the Eagles get the win. And I can tell you that Doug Peterson was on WIP radio this morning and said he hasn't made, I'm told that we can show it to you now, has not made a decision yet at who is going to start. Here's the quote. I'm going to take a look at yesterday. I'm going to take a look at a lot of different things before I make that determination this week. Again, that was on WIP this morning. Anyone care to interpret that? Ryan Clark, what do you think of that?
Doug is lying, yo.
Yes.
Doug lying. Like, Doug had finally came out and started saying some good things in his interviews and started saying the right things and holding people accountable and sounding extremely intelligent about the way he was going forward with all of this. And then he does this. Not today, Doug. Not today. Today was your day to say, you know what? Jalen Hurts came out and he played extremely well. We were a better team because of what Jalen Hurts did yesterday and did not do negatively. And because of that, it is easy to make the decision, my people, that Jalen Hurts will also start this week because he has earned it. Now, you ain't got to ask me questions anymore. Fletcher Cox and Miles Sanders don't have to come out and talk about how much of support they are of Carson Wentz because they beat the Saints, a team they weren't supposed to beat, a team they most certainly would have not beaten if Carson Wentz was the quarterback. Doug, stop it. The problem is Doug never wanted to get here, y'all. Doug didn't want to get to last week. Doug didn't ever want to be in the world to where Jalen Hurts had to be his quarterback. And then when he was forced in the decision, he was like, oh my goodness, this is perfect. We're playing the New Orleans Saints. They're going to kill Jalen anyway, and I can just put Carson back in. But wait. There's more. That didn't happen. And now that hasn't happened, Dougie doesn't know how to handle it. So here it is. I am Doug Peterson. You are the world. Jalen Hurts will be the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles this week. If he is not, I should be fired.
They play at the Cardinals, then at the Cowboys, and then home to Washington to finish a season in which they still have a chance to win the division. So Dan, let's try and figure out what this means. It's just anyone watching that game can see how much more life they seem to have with Jalen Hurts, which is the same thing we used to say about them when Nick Foles was their quarterback. What does that mean for Carson Wentz?
Yeah, yesterday was probably one of the more concerning games that I've seen when it comes to Carson Wentz directly. He didn't even play. You know, like I'm trying to sit here and figure out why there's got to be some form of a disconnect between Carson Wentz with his own play and then also Doug Peterson. That offense was much more creative. That offense was much more efficient. That offense was much more understanding of what their players do well and what they don't do well. They looked like they were having fun. I mean, that looked like an NFL offense. That looked like an offense that went to the Super Bowl and won it 3 years ago. That looked like an offense that 2 years ago went on a playoff run with Nick Foles. That looked like last year with Carson Wentz. And so I'm sitting there going, you know, like, it doesn't make sense to me that you could be one of the best people on the planet at your job, and I'm talking about Carson Wentz, which he was in 2017, and then play really, really good football last year, and then all of a sudden have no idea what it takes to play that position anymore. Like, that is not a physical thing. That does not happen when it comes to professional sports. When I watch that, I'm thinking Carson Wentz is here right now, and he's in his own head, and also him and Doug Peterson on completely different books. Forget different pages. And that's concerning, because how do you fix it? Who's going to be the one to fix it? Who's going to be the adult in the situation to get it fixed? And I think that's why Doug Peterson this morning goes,
Dan,
what?
Who hurt you? Who hurt you? What's wrong? You okay?
Your voice, Carson Wentz.
You okay?
Is there a disconnect in the locker room? That's kind of what it looked like on the field yesterday to me, because that team they were inspired by this young man at quarterback. And to me, the decision, am I going to play Jalen Hurts? Hey, dude, I was wrong too. Admitted I was wrong too. I don't think he has the NFL, skill set, but I was wrong. That dude played phenomenal against not just a good defense, the #1 defense in the National Football League going into it. The team that had given up a 100-yard rusher in 55 straight games. By the way, they gave up 2 that day.
Right.
But Jalen Hurts, he was so poised. And, man, they were actually fun to watch. For the first time all season, the Philadelphia Eagles were fun to watch on offense. So that's the decision.
So let me ask you, Ryan, because I hear what you're saying. And, look, we all know Dan believes in Carson Wentz. It's not a negative thing. You have forever, and that's fine. So, RC, I will ask you then, what does it say? Rex is talking about the locker room, or it's the coaching staff. When they just play better without him, what does that mean?
I mean, it says things that you never want to assume. You never want to assume that a guy doesn't have the locker room, or that the locker room doesn't support him in his play, especially a dude to me who actually seems like a great guy in Carson Wentz. But when you look at this team, when you look at the energy that this team has, when you look at the belief that everyone has, when you look at the level of play of the entire team, when Carson Wentz isn't on the field, it's starting to be undeniable. It's starting to be more or less addition by subtraction when who your most talented player isn't on the field. And that makes absolutely no sense. And so you have to think like Rex and say there is some disconnect somewhere, whether it's Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz, whether it was Frank Wright who actually had that type of relationship with Carson and not Doug. Whatever it is, there's something amiss with this team when Carson Wentz is on the field and when he isn't. And it's starting to be undeniable when you watch the film. And the film is all that matters. The wins and losses are all that matters. And if another guy gives you a better chance to win, he has to be your quarterback. And right now, that guy is Jalen Hurts. You made the mistake once with Nick Foles, it seems. Don't do it twice.
Go ahead, Danny.
Here's the thing I have with that, RC, and I said this when it came to Nick Foles and Doug Peterson. Like, we all have those friends that bring out the best version of ourselves, and I felt like that was Nick Foles for Doug Peterson. Like, he always seemed to bring out the best version of Doug Peterson. But we watched that happen last year with Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson. Like, when they went on that playoff run last year or get into the playoffs, that was strictly coach and quarterback doing it together. And that's why this season has become so weird, because I felt like they had jumped that hurdle. And that's why I sit here and I go, there's something that we don't know going on in that building with that quarterback that we just are unaware of. At the end of the day, this is Jalen Hurts' job right now. He was fantastic yesterday, and he was the difference maker for that football team.
Yeah, I'm just reading the words on the screen. I'm going to look at a lot of different things before I make that determination. If one of them is the tape, that decision is very easy.